The council chamber floated in the darkness of space, a massive ring of metal and light where the galaxy's oldest civilizations gathered. Inside the grand hall, representatives from 20 different species sat in their designated seats, their forms ranging from insect-like beings to floating energy creatures. Prime Val stood at the center podium, his 4 arms gesturing dramatically. The tall, blue-skinned leader addressed the assembly with growing concern in his voice. The void readings are unlike anything we have seen in 300 cycles, Vel announced. Something is coming from the unexplored regions. Commander Turk, a heavily armored reptilian warrior, leaned forward in his seat. Our scouts reported energy signatures that match no known technology. Should we prepare defensive fleets? Defensive fleets against what? Another counselor scoffed. Probably some natural phenomenon. The void has many mysteries. As the council argued, alarms suddenly blared throughout the chamber. Red lights flashed across every display panel. A junior officer rushed into the hall, his face pale with shock. "Forgive the interruption, honored council," the officer stammered. "But a vessel has just appeared." It came from nowhere. One moment space was empty, and the next the main viewing screen flickered to life. Every counselor fell silent. A massive warship hung in space just outside the neutral zone. Its hull was dark gray, covered in angular armor plating. Weapon ports lined its sides like the teeth of some ancient predator. The ship bristled with technology the council had never seen before. What civilization built that? Someone whispered. "Running identification scans now," a technician reported. "The ship is broadcasting a signal. They call themselves ... humans. From a planet called Earth." Laughter rippled through parts of the council chamber. Prime Val's expression showed clear disdain. Humans? Those primitive creatures from the outer rim? Val shook his head. They only discovered basic space travel 50 cycles ago. This must be some kind of mistake. Commander Turk studied the warship carefully. Something about it made his warrior instincts flare with warning. "Prime Val, that ship displays technology we do not recognize. Perhaps we should what? Fear primitives?" Val interrupted. "Send them away. Tell them the council has no time for species still learning to walk among the stars." Before the order could be transmitted, a voice came through the communication system. It was deep, calm, and absolutely confident. "Council Station. This is Captain Blake of the human warship Titan's Fist. We request permission to dock and address the assembly. We come in peace, but we come prepared." The last words hung in the air like a challenge. Prime Val's skin darkened with anger. Prepared? These creatures dare to threaten the council? "Let them dock," Commander Turk suggested, "if only to understand what we face." That ship could be a threat. After a heated debate, the council reluctantly agreed. An hour later, Captain Blake and his delegation entered the chamber. The humans walked with purpose, wearing dark uniforms marked with unknown symbols. Blake was a tall man with gray hair and cold eyes that had seen too many battles. "Honorable Council," Blake began, his voice carrying easily through the vast hall. "Humanity wishes to join the galactic community. We bring new technology, new perspectives, and new strength." "Strength?" Vel laughed. "Young one, civilizations here have existed for thousands of your years. What could primitives possibly offer us?" Blake's expression never changed. "We offer what you need most, victory." The word confused many council members. Ambassador Green, a human woman standing beside Blake, stepped forward with a data tablet. "We've been monitoring your communications," she explained. "For the past 200 years, you've been fighting an enemy you call the Devourers, a species that consumes entire worlds. You're losing." The council chamber erupted in angry shouts. How dare these newcomers speak of council affairs? How dare they suggest weakness? Commander Turk raised his hand for silence. And I suppose humans believe they can defeat an enemy we have fought for centuries? Captain Blake smiled. It was not a friendly expression. We don't believe, Commander. We know. Because where we come from, survival means being the most dangerous thing in the room. Before anyone could respond, every alarm in the station began screaming. The main screen showed what every counselor feared most. Dozens of dark ships materialized at the edge of the system, their hulls covered in organic armor. The Devourers had arrived. The council chamber descended into chaos. Counselors shouted orders, while others fled toward the escape corridors. Prime Vel's confident demeanor shattered as he stared at the screen, showing 30 Devourer warships approaching in attack formation. All defensive fleets, engage immediately. Commander Turk roared into his communication device. Protect the council station at all costs. Through the viewing screen, everyone watched as the council's fleet moved to intercept. 40 sleek warships, representing the finest military technology of 20 civilizations, formed a defensive line. Their energy shields glowed bright blue as they prepared for battle. Captain Blake stood perfectly still, watching the deployment with calculating eyes. Ambassador Green touched his arm. Captain, we should return to our ship, she said quietly. Blake nodded once. Agreed. This is going to get ugly fast. As the human delegation rushed toward their docking port, the first shots of battle lit up the darkness of space. Council ships fired advanced energy weapons that had won 1,000 battles. Brilliant beams of concentrated power struck the Devourer vessels. Beams barely scorched their organic armor. The Devourers returned fire with bioplasma weapons that ate, threw energy shields like acid through paper. Within minutes, 3 council ships exploded in balls of fire. 4 more lost power and began drifting helplessly. They're cutting through us. A commander screamed over the communication network. Request immediate reinforcements. We cannot hold this position. Commander Turk watched in horror as his forces fell apart. In all his years of military service, he had never seen the Devourers attack with such overwhelming power. All ships, fall back to secondary defensive positions, Turk ordered. His voice heavy with defeat. Prime Vel grabbed Turk's armored shoulder. We cannot retreat. We must hold them here. If we stay, we die, Turk replied grimly. At least by retreating, we can regroup, and new voice cut through every communication channel on the station. Council Fleet. This is Captain Blake of Titan's Fist. We're moving to engage the enemy. Recommend you pull your damaged vessels back immediately. Every eye in the council chamber turned to the viewing screen. The human warship had detached from the station and was accelerating directly toward the Devourer fleet. Alone. Those fools. Someone shouted. 1 ship against 30? They're committing suicide. Blake's voice came through again, ice cold and utterly calm. All crew, this is the captain. Battle stations. Load all weapons. Today we show this galaxy what humans bring to the fight. What we've always brought. War. The Titan's Fist moved with surprising speed for such a massive vessel. It positioned itself directly between the retreating council fleet and the advancing Devourers. For a moment, everything seemed frozen in time. Then the human warship opened fire. But these were not energy weapons. The council counselors watched in confusion as metal projectiles launched from the ship's railguns at incredible velocities. The kinetic rounds struck Devourer shields with devastating force, punching through defenses that had stopped energy weapons effortlessly. 3 Devourer ships lost their shields in the first volley. 2 more took direct hull damage. What kind of primitive weapons are those? Someone asked in shock. Kinetic accelerators, Ambassador Green explained, watching from a monitor in the human shuttle. Simple physics. Mass times velocity equals destruction. Sometimes the oldest methods work best. The Devourers regrouped and focused all their firepower on the human ship. Bioplasma scorched across Titan's Fist's armor, melting sections of hull plating. But Blake didn't retreat. Instead, he charged forward. "Launch missiles." "Full spread pattern," Blake commanded. Dozens of projectiles erupted from the human warship's launch tubes. But these weren't ordinary missiles. Each one carried a nuclear warhead, technology so ancient and brutal that most civilized species had abandoned it. Millennia ago. The missiles found their targets. Nuclear fire bloomed across the battlefield, each explosion creating a miniature sun. The Devourer organic armor, so resistant to energy weapons, burned and melted under the raw thermal assault. 5 enemy ships simply ceased to exist, vaporized in atomic fury. The council chamber fell absolutely silent. They watched as this single human vessel, using weapons they considered barbaric and outdated, tore through the Devourer fleet like a predator among prey. "Impossible," Prime Vel whispered. "This cannot be happening." Commander Turk's eyes widened with understanding and fear. "They don't fight like us. They don't try to disable or capture. They fight to kill. Only to kill." The Titan's Fist continued its assault. More railgun rounds. More missiles. The ship's hull glowed red from damage, but it never stopped moving, never stopped firing. Blake maneuvered his warship with the skill of someone who had spent their entire life preparing for battles exactly like this. A massive Devourer flagship, twice the size of the human vessel, moved to engage. Its bioweapons charged for a killing shot. But Blake anticipated the move. The Titan's Fist rolled hard, dodging the plasma stream, and fired its main railgun at point-blank range. The slug, moving at a fraction of light speed, entered through the Devourer flagship's front and exited through its rear, creating a tunnel of destruction. The enemy ship broke apart from internal explosions. The remaining Devourer vessels suddenly changed course. They weren't regrouping for another attack. They were fleeing. For the first time in 200 years of war, the Devourers retreated. The silence in the council chamber was absolute. Every counselor stared at the viewing screen, unable to process what they had just witnessed. The Devourer fleet, reduced to fewer than 15 ships, jumped away into dark space, leaving behind the wreckage of their own dead. The human warship Titan's Fist hung motionless in the battlefield, its hull scarred and glowing with heat damage. Sections of armor had melted away completely. Fires burned in exposed compartments. Yet somehow, impossibly, the vessel remained functional. Commander Turk was the first to break the stunned silence. "Get me a direct line to that human captain. Now." A communications officer fumbled with the controls, his hands shaking. "Channel open, Commander." "Captain Blake," Turk began, his voice filled with something that might have been respect. "Your ship took heavy damage. Do you require assistance?" Blake's face appeared on the main screen. Smoke drifted behind him on the bridge of his ship. Blood ran down the side of his head from a cut above his eye, but his expression remained calm and focused. "Negative, Commander. We've suffered casualties, but Titan's Fist is still combat capable. We're beginning damage control procedures now." Blake wiped blood from his face with the back of his hand. "How many council ships did we lose?" 7 destroyed. 11 damaged, Turk replied quietly. "Without your intervention, we would have lost everything." Prime Vel pushed forward, his forearms trembling with mixed emotions. Anger, fear, and something else fought for control of his features. "Captain Blake, your weapons?" "Those nuclear devices. They are forbidden by galactic law. Such barbaric tools of mass destruction have been outlawed for 1,000 years. Blake's cold eyes fixed on the council leader. "Forgive me, Prime Vel, but I don't recall humanity signing any galactic laws. We're not part of your council. Yet. Vel's skin turned darker. You think after this display of violence, we would welcome you? I think you don't have a choice, Blake replied bluntly. What you just saw wasn't our most advanced technology. That was standard military equipment. Basic weapons we've been using for centuries. And it was enough to send your ancient enemy running for the first time in 200 years. Ambassador Green appeared beside Blake on the screen, a medical kit in her hands as she began treating his wound. What the captain means is that humanity can help. We've spent our entire history fighting. Wars on our planet taught us things your peaceful civilizations never learned. Peaceful? Someone in the council laughed bitterly. We've been at war for 2 centuries. You've been defending, Blake corrected. There's a difference. You fight to survive, to protect what you have. Humans fight to win. We don't just stop the enemy. We make sure they never come back. Commander Turk studied the human captain carefully. Your people come from a harsh world. That much is clear. Earth made us hard, Blake agreed. Every species on our planet competed for survival. Predators everywhere. Harsh climates. Limited resources. Humans had to become the apex predator or go extinct. We chose to survive. Prime Vel shook his head slowly. What you describe sounds like a nightmare world. How did you even develop civilization? Blake smiled grimly. Because eventually we ran out of things to fight on Earth, so we fought each other. Thousands of wars. Millions dead. We learned every possible way to kill efficiently. Then, when we finally grew tired of killing our own kind, we looked to the stars. And now you bring that violence here, Vel accused. We bring the ability to end your war, Ambassador Green interjected firmly. Prime Vel, your people have been dying for 2 centuries. How many billions have the Devourers consumed? How many worlds burned? You need us, whether you want to admit it or not. The council chamber erupted in arguments. Some councilors demanded the humans be sent away immediately. Others insisted that humanity's military capability could finally turn the tide of the war. The debate raged for nearly an hour while the Titan's fist remained on station, quietly repairing its battle damage. Finally, Commander Turk raised his armored fist and slammed it on his console, creating a sound like thunder. Enough! I am the supreme military commander of the council forces. I say we need these humans. You cannot make this decision alone, Prime Vel protested. Then let us vote, Turk challenged. Right now, do we grant humanity observer status in the council? Do we accept their military assistance against the Devourers? Or do we continue fighting alone and watch more of our people die? The vote was called. It was close. 13 in favor, 7 against. Humanity had earned its place. Barely. Captain Blake's image nodded once. The council has made a wise choice. I'll transmit coordinates to our home system. Earth Command will send additional ships and military advisors. We'll teach you how humans wage war. And the price for this help? Vel asked suspiciously. Recognition as a full council member within 1 year. Access to galactic trade routes. And a seat at every military planning session. Blake's expression hardened. We're not your servants, Prime Vel. We're your allies. Or we're nothing at all. After a tense moment, Vel nodded reluctantly. Agreed. Welcome to the galactic community, humans. As the transmission ended, Commander Turk turned to his staff. Begin preparations for joint military operations. And send a message to all council worlds. Tell them humanity has joined our fight. What should the message say? An officer asked. TARK watched the human warship on the screen, its crew working tirelessly to repair battle damage despite their injuries. Tell them help has arrived. Tell them the Devourers just learned that Earth's children don't know how to surrender. They only know how to fight. Meanwhile, in a dark corner of space, the surviving Devourer ships regrouped. Their commanders communicated in complex biological signals, sharing data about the new threat. The humans had appeared without warning. Their weapons bypassed shields designed to stop energy attacks. Their tactics were aggressive, brutal, and effective. Most concerning of all, they showed no fear. A decision was made. The Devourer High Command needed to know about this new species. The humans would need to be studied, analyzed, and ultimately destroyed before they became a greater problem. But deep in their genetic memory, the Devourers felt something they had not experienced in millennia. Uncertainty. 3 weeks had passed since the battle at the Council Station. The galaxy was changing in ways no one could have predicted. Captain Blake stood on the bridge of Titan's Fist, now fully repaired and upgraded with some Council technology. Around him, his crew worked with quiet efficiency, monitoring displays that showed the growing human presence in Council space. Captain, incoming transmission from Earth Command, Lieutenant Davis reported from the communications station. Put it through, Blake ordered. Admiral Ross appeared on the main screen, his weathered face showing satisfaction. Behind him, Blake could see the massive construction yards orbiting Earth, where dozens of new warships were being built. Blake, good work out there, Ross said. The Council has been surprisingly cooperative. They've shared their star charts, trade routes, even some of their shield technology. They're desperate, Admiral. 200 years of losing will do that. Blake crossed his arms. What's the status of the fleet deployment? We're sending 20 warships within the month. Another 50 will follow in 3 months. The Council is providing supplies and repair facilities. Ross leaned forward. But there's something else. Intelligence has been analyzing Devourer communication patterns we captured during the battle. Blake, they're planning something big. How big? Multiple fleet movements toward the core territories. The Council thinks the Devourers are preparing a massive offensive. They want to strike at the heart of Council space before we can fully deploy our forces. Blake nodded slowly. Makes sense. We bloodied their nose. Now they want to end this war before humanity becomes a real problem for them. Commander Turk has requested your presence at the War Council. They're gathering on the military command world of Torin. Every species is sending their best strategists. Ross paused. Blake, you'll be representing all of humanity in that room. Show them what we're capable of. Understood, Admiral. Titan's Fist will depart within the hour. The transmission ended. Blake turned to his crew. Set course for Torin. Maximum speed. Lieutenant Davis informed the Council we're coming. The war room on Torin was an impressive structure built into a mountain. Holographic displays floated in the air, showing the entire galaxy with markers for every known Devourer position. Around a massive circular table sat the military commanders of every Council species. Commander Turk stood at the head of the table, his reptilian face grim. The situation is worse than we thought. Our scouts have confirmed massive Devourer fleet concentrations in 5 locations. They're preparing a coordinated strike. Insect-like commander clicked his mandibles nervously. 5 fleets, each one larger than what attacked the Council station. How can we possibly defend against this? We can't, a floating energy being stated flatly. Our forces are spread too thin across our territories. If we concentrate our fleet to defend one world, the others fall. If we divide our forces, we're too weak to stop any of them. Then we die, someone said quietly. After 2 centuries, the Devourers finally end us. No. Every head turned as Captain Blake entered the war room, Ambassador Green at his side. You don't die. You adapt. Prime Vel, attending via hologram, sneered. The human has arrived. Tell us, Captain, how does your species propose we defend against 5 simultaneous attacks? Blake approached the holographic display, studying the devourer positions carefully. His eyes moved rapidly, calculating distances, response times, and strategic vulnerabilities. You're thinking defensively again, Blake said. That's your problem. The devourers expect you to defend your worlds, while they choose when and where to attack. You're reacting instead of acting. We have no choice, Turk replied. We cannot abandon our colonies. You don't have to. Blake manipulated the holographic controls, highlighting specific points in space. But you don't defend where they attack. You attack where they're weak. Ambassador Green pulled up new data on a secondary display. Our intelligence analysis shows that while the Devourers have concentrated 5 major fleets, they've left their supply lines and staging areas relatively undefended. They're gambling everything on this offensive. Blake pointed to several locations deep in Devourer-controlled space. These are their breeding worlds, the places where they create new ships and warriors. They're protected by minimal defenses because they never thought anyone would be crazy enough to attack them. The war room fell silent as the implications sank. You're suggesting we abandon our own worlds and strike at theirs? The insect commander's voice rose in pitch. That's madness. Our people would be defenseless. Wrong, Blake countered. We evacuate civilians from targeted worlds. Leave minimal defensive forces to make it look normal. Meanwhile, we gather our main fleet and strike at their heart. When the Devourer attack fleets arrive at our worlds, they'll find empty cities. And while they're confused, we're burning their breeding worlds to ash. Commander Turk's eyes widened. A strategic counterstrike. Hit them where it hurts most, while their forces are out of position. Exactly, Blake confirmed. Humans learned this tactic thousands of years ago. It's called total war. You don't just fight their military. You destroy their ability to make war at all. Prime Vel's hologram flickered with agitation. This plan risks everything. If we fail, we lose both our colonies and our fleet. If you defend traditionally, you lose anyway, Ambassador Green pointed out. The Devourers have more ships, better positioned forces, every tactical advantage. This plan is risky, but it's the only option that gives you a chance to actually win. And if we succeed? Turk asked. Blake smiled coldly. If we succeed, we cripple the Devourers so badly they won't recover for decades. Maybe longer. We buy the Council time to rebuild, to expand, to prepare for when they eventually come back. A long silence filled the war room as every commander considered the proposal. It went against everything their civilizations believed about warfare. It was aggressive, brutal, and ruthless. It was exactly how humans fought. Finally, Commander Turk stood. His massive armored form dominated the room. I say we do it. I say we trust the humans and their tactics. All in favor? One by one, hands, tentacles, and appendages raised around the table. Even some who had voted against humanity's inclusion now voted yes. When the count finished, it was nearly unanimous. Prime Vel's hologram was the last to respond. Very well, he said quietly. May the ancestors forgive us for what we're about to do. Blake nodded respectfully. Commander Turk, we'll need to move fast. How quickly can you gather the fleet? 2 weeks. Maybe less if we push. Make it less, Blake urged. Every day we wait gives the Devourers more time to prepare. Ambassador Green and I will return to Titan's Fist and begin coordinating with Earth Command. We'll need every ship humanity can spare. As the meeting broke up and commanders rushed to mobilize their forces, Turk approached Blake privately. Captain, a question if I may, the reptilian warrior said. Do you truly believe we can win this? Blake met his eyes steadily. Commander, I've studied the Devourers since we arrived. They're strong, adaptable, and dangerous. But they have one critical weakness. What weakness? They've been winning for 2 centuries. They've grown complacent, predictable. They think they understand warfare. Blake's expression hardened. They're about to learn that war isn't just about who has more ships or better weapons. War is about who's willing to do whatever it takes to survive. And humans have been doing that since we lived in caves. Turk made a sound that might have been a laugh. You're a frightening species, Captain Blake. Good, Blake replied. That's exactly what we want the Devourers to think. The Council fleet gathered in deep space, far from any inhabited system. Over 300 warships from 20 different species floated in formation, the largest military force assembled in Council history. Among them, 30 human vessels stood out with their angular, aggressive designs. Captain Blake watched from the bridge of Titan's Fist as the last ships arrived. Beside him, Commander Turk's image appeared on the communication screen. The reptilian warrior wore full battle armor, his face painted with traditional war markings. The fleet is assembled, Captain Blake, Turk reported. 312 ships, 40,000 warriors. Everything the Council can spare without leaving our core worlds completely defenseless. And the civilian evacuations? Complete on all targeted colonies. The Devourers will find empty cities when they arrive. Turk paused. I've been a military commander for 30 years. This still feels wrong. Abandoning our worlds, even temporarily. Blake understood. It goes against your instincts. But sometimes survival means doing things that feel wrong. Trust the plan, Commander. Ambassador Green approached with a data tablet. Captain, we've received confirmation from Earth Command. Admiral Ross is leading another 50 ships toward Council space, but they won't arrive for 2 weeks. We can't wait that long, Blake said. The Devourer attack fleets are already moving. We strike now with what we have. He activated the fleet-wide communication channel. His face appeared on every ship's bridge, human and alien alike. All vessels, this is Captain Blake. In approximately 6 hours, we will jump to Devourer space and begin our assault. I won't lie to you. This will be the hardest battle any of us have ever fought. We're attacking them on their home territory, where they're strongest. Blake paused, letting his words sink in. But we have advantages they don't expect. Surprise, unity, and the willingness to do whatever necessary to win. The Devourers have spent 2 centuries thinking they're unstoppable. Today, we prove them wrong. Today, we show them that when you threaten our homes, our families, our very existence, we don't just defend. We strike back with everything we have. He looked directly into the camera. Every species in this fleet comes from different worlds, different cultures. But today, we're all the same. Today, we're all warriors fighting for survival. So let's make sure the Devourers remember this day for the rest of their existence. All ships prepare for jump. Blake out. The transmission ended. Lieutenant Davis turned from his station. Captain, the crew is ready. Weapons loaded. Shields at maximum. Good. Blake settled into his command chair. Let's go hunting. Asterisk, the Devourer breeding world of Xanth, floated in a purple nebula. Its surface covered in massive organic structures that grew new ships and warriors. Millions of Devourers lived and worked here, never expecting an attack so deep in their territory. They were wrong. 300 ships emerged from hyperspace simultaneously, dropping into attack formation with military precision. The handful of Devourer defense ships barely had time to react before the Council fleet opened fire. All weapons fire at will. Blake commanded. Titan's Fist led the assault, its railguns hammering the planet's orbital defenses. Nuclear missiles streaked through space, detonating against the breeding structures below. Other Council ships added their energy weapons, creating a storm of destruction. The Devourer defenders tried to mount a counterattack, but they were hopelessly outnumbered. Within 20 minutes, every defense platform had been destroyed. "Begin planetary bombardment," Blake ordered coldly. "Target all breeding facilities. Leave nothing intact." What followed was systematic destruction. The Council fleet methodically destroyed every military structure on Xanth's surface. Breeding facilities exploded in massive biological fires. Ship construction yards collapsed into rubble. Storage facilities vaporized under concentrated fire. Commander Turk watched from his flagship with mixed emotions. "This is not how we wage war," he said quietly to his officers. "We do not destroy entire worlds." "No," his second-in-command replied. "But the humans do. And perhaps that's what we needed all along. Someone willing to do what we could not." After 4 hours of bombardment, Xanth was burning. Its ability to produce new Devourer forces had been reduced to nothing. Blake called for the fleet to regroup. "All ships, report status," he requested. The responses came quickly. "Minimal damage. No ships lost." The first strike had been a complete success. "Set course for the second breeding world," Blake commanded. "We hit them again before they realize what's happening." In the Devourer Command Center, located on their capital world deep in the galactic core, chaos reigned. Reports flooded in about the attack on Xanth. The military leaders struggled to understand what had happened. "Impossible," the Devourer Supreme Commander hissed, his translated voice echoing through the chamber. "Our attack fleets are moving toward Council space. Their forces should be defending, not attacking." A tactical officer brought up star charts showing ship movements. "Supreme Commander, the Council fleet is not where we expected. They've abandoned defensive positions and penetrated deep into our territory. Recall the attack fleets immediately. It will take 3 days for them to return, possibly longer." The Supreme Commander's organic body pulsed with rage. 3 days? By then they could destroy half our breeding worlds. "There's more, Commander." The tactical officer displayed new data. Analysis of the attack patterns suggests human involvement. The same aggressive tactics we saw at the Council station. For the first time in centuries, uncertainty crept into the Supreme Commander's decision-making. The humans had changed everything. Their presence had given the Council something the Devourers never expected them to have: courage to attack. "Send all available forces to defend our remaining breeding worlds," the Supreme Commander ordered, "and transmit a priority message to the attack fleets. Tell them the plan has changed. Tell them we're not hunting anymore. Now we're the ones being hunted." Over the next 5 days, the Council fleet struck 4 more Devourer breeding worlds. Each attack followed the same pattern: jump in, destroy defenses, bombard the surface, jump out before reinforcements arrived. It was warfare at its most efficient and brutal dot by the 6th day. Devourer military production had been cut by 70%. Billions of their kind had died. Their carefully planned defensive had collapsed as attack fleets rushed back to defend their HOMEWORLDS. Captain Blake sat in his quarters reviewing casualty reports. The Council fleet had lost 18 ships over 5 battles. Not a small number, but far fewer than anyone expected. Thousands of warriors had died, but millions had been saved by the aggressive strategy. Ambassador Green entered without knocking. "Captain, you need to see this. The Devourers are sending a communication. It's addressed directly to you." Blake raised an eyebrow. "Put it through." A holographic image appeared. The Devourer Supreme Commander's alien form was difficult to look at, a mass of biological tissue and multiple limbs that defied easy description. "Captain Blake of the humans," the translated voice began, You have caused great destruction to my people. You fight without honor, attacking worlds that cannot defend themselves." Blake's expression didn't change. Funny words coming from a species that's been consuming inhabited planets for 2 centuries. "How many billions have you killed, Supreme Commander?" "We consume to survive. It is our nature. And fighting to protect our people is our nature," Blake countered. "You started this war long before humans arrived. You just never expected anyone to fight back the way we do." The Supreme Commander was silent for a moment. "What do you want, human?" "Peace," Blake said simply. "Permanent peace. You withdraw from all Council territories. You stop attacking inhabited worlds. You retreat to your own space and stay there. And if we refuse?" Blake leaned forward, his eyes cold. "Then we continue destroying your breeding worlds, one by one, until you have nothing left. We'll burn every planet you control until your species is reduced to a fraction of what it is now. We won't stop. We won't negotiate. We'll just keep fighting until you either accept peace or cease to exist." The Supreme Commander's form pulsed with barely controlled rage. But beneath that rage was something else. Fear. "You would truly destroy an entire species? If necessary to protect our own?" "Absolutely." Blake's voice was matter of fact. "That's what you never understood about humans, Supreme Commander. We don't fight to conquer or consume. We fight to survive. And we're very, very good at it."